So the Kara Stahovich reading is a well-written design and proof of concept project. And so I'm going to go through this and explain why exactly I think that this is well written and point out some features that it does well that I think you should replicate. First, I'm going to start with the abstract. And the abstract here does a good job setting up the problem. And then we know very clearly that it's design or proof of concept project when they say we present, and then they describe what they present, designed to enable. That's a very good sentence structure, very clear what it is they are doing. They describe their techniques, really kind of focusing on the most innovative, the most important ones, and then they evaluate that how their Simu sketch works. This evaluation would be a little bit better in the abstract if they said by how much or quantified this information in some ways. But overall, this is a well-written abstract. And they go through in the introduction, and the introduction very clearly specifies the problems that remain to be solved in this area. And so they very clearly identify ink parsing. Note the use of italics to make this stand out, and symbol recognition as a second area. This paper is also stand out for its use of figures. And so the figures throughout really help clearly tell the story of this research and explain why it's important. They provide a really good, concise description of how it works and an overview of how they evaluate it and what it is that they are trying to do. A few things that I want to point out as they go through the design sections and explain exactly how their system is designed. First, that they use figures. They have multiple sentences in the captions so that you don't need to read the text, that the figure and the caption itself should be sufficient to give you enough information for you to understand. They also use lots of small chunks where they have headings. So we have here a heading for object manipulation, object dialogue, views, so that we can really clearly jump around and find the different parts of this. So there's lots of headings and subheadings. It can be very common to number these to have, so we might have this as system details as section 4, and this is 4.1, stroke clustering is 4.2. But what I really want to drive your attention to is how they break these into really kind of fine-grained sections so that we can jump very quickly and just read the bold parts and kind of get an overview of what this is. So when we get to page 7, they move to the evaluation component, which they do here with user studies. And so they, again, have clear sections evaluating the symbol recognizer, evaluating the Simu sketch here. This paper ends with a conclusion, not with a discussion section, as might be typical in a more traditional scientific experimental paper. I'm just going to show a second paper that is also a design or a proof of concept paper, and this has several similar features. So again, captions for figures have multiple sentences so that we can really understand what they are. This paper is very nicely organized into introduction. Then we get into the design section, modeling and analysis, A, equations of motion, B, active tail, so that it is really organized into lots of subsections so that readers can just read those section headings and get a sense of how the project is broken down. Here we get into the robot design, and again, all the different main components of the project are there together. Again, look at how long these captions are, this is very useful for the reader of a report so that they don't really have to read the text unless they want some more detail as they go through. At the bottom of page 5, they have their experimental results. So this is their evaluation that it works. Again, lots of different sections presenting all of the results. And it ends with a conclusion that just very quickly moves into future work. So this is another very good example, something that you could use as a model or template for your own writing.